Indiabulls Real Estate, which is in the news. Promoters put out their intention to sell 14% stake in the company, and news reports also suggested that Embassy and Blackstone JV is set to buy the largest stake in the company, which will trigger an open offer post that. Ajit Mittal of Indiabulls Group is joining us on the phone line right now, and we also have Darshan Mehta with us from our research team to take us through the conversation. Darshan, it's over to you.
Yeah, good morning, Ajit. Thanks for joining in. Obviously, the block deal has happened. The data indicates that close to 13% stake has changed hand in Indiabulls Real Estate. Can you confirm whether the promoters have sold this stake and who the buyer is?
Well, your information is correct. The promoter, Mr. Samir Gehlot, sold part of his stake to Embassy Blackstone JV, and that's right. As part of his plan to, cease to be the promoter of real estate business going forward.
Ajit, the other part is that promoters own close to 38% stake in the company. Will there be further tranches, and if yes, when can that happen?
Well, on that, really at this point in time, I won't be able to comment. But yeah, it's part of that overall, strategy for him to eventually, exit the real estate business, given our, thrust on our financial services business, and also to remove any sort of hurdle in our, amalgamation process with the bank, Lakshmi Vilas Bank.
The other part is that since only 13% has been sold, and just correct me because that's the data that Bloomberg has shown, 12.8%. You had indicated 14%. Has the entire 14% been sold, or
no,
only 12.8%?
To comment on that, I am not really involved on the real estate side. I am more on the financial services side. So on the deal specifics and all, I'll not be able to comment. But I gave you the broad picture that is what the rationale for the stake sale by the promoter is.
Okay. Was RBI one of the key reasons? Did they tell you to exit this business, or was it voluntary so that no hurdle comes in?
I've been an ex-regulator myself. I was with the Reserve Bank of India for more than 2 decades, and that too in the banking regulation and supervision. So is regulator not just in India, the worldwide, they do have an inherent kind of concern with the banks and the real estate developers business being intertwined, intermingled. So that's always the case. In 2013 when we applied for a banking license, I believe that was also one of the concerns. So also given the fact that real estate development business is not really one of the mainstay businesses of the group, is less than 20% of the total assets and the revenue of the group, in fact much less than that. So it wasn't really sort of a part of our strategic vision to emerge as a sort of financial services player of global size and reach, and across the strata, not just the lending business, but also now we are entering into the insurance space. We are also one of the largest players in the fintech and the digital lending space. We also are one of the leading retail brokers, and now, we from a mortgage lender, we are looking at our transformation into a full-service universal bank. So given all that thing, it was kind of considered sort of desirable to sort of exit this space. So that's it.
Any other assets that you would be looking to sell at this point of time, apart from the real estate business?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay. Reports also that came in the Times of India and Mint indicated that the balance tranches will be done over the next 1.5 to 2 months. Is that something that you would agree?
Well, as I told you, I'm not really involved in nitty-gritty of the transaction as to in what tranches and what time intervals. So I won't be able to comment on that. But yeah, more or less, you can say that's the trajectory.
Okay, Mr. Mittal, so this is pretty much clear that the group is looking to exit real estate business because of the ongoing merger with Lakshmi Vilas Bank. Is there any backup plan ready with the group? Worst come if the RBI doesn't give approval for the merger, because you're already exiting the real estate business to meet the norm of RBI, because the promoter cannot have any sort of exposure to real estate business.
See, let me give you the perspective. First of all, this RBI approval is more in the nature of a NOC. This is a voluntary amalgamation under the Companies Act and as provided under the RBI's own directions. So RBI has to carry out a fit and proper due diligence on the company as well as on the promoter, the new promoter of the bank. Right. Other than that, it's a process which involves NCLT, which involves Competition Commission of India, which also involved exchanges and the SEBI and other stakeholders, in our case, even NHB. So it's only one piece. And that too is more in the nature of a NOC. So it's not as if, there's a question of a plan B or plan A or plan C. I mean, we're just following a path which is pretty much given, So I don't see any sort of obstacle in that, because had we got some doubt as to our eligibility and as, on our fit and proper front, we won't even have chosen to tread this path in the first place.
You're not ruling out any further stake sale from the promoters. I know you're not involved in the nitty-gritties of this deal, but you're not even ruling out that promoters could further sell stake.
To that extent that promoters, Mr. Sameer Gehlot would cease to be promoter of the real estate group, to that extent the stake sale will happen.
No, but he still is the promoter, because he's just sold a 13% stake, while Embassy gets that. He still has the majority stake.
He would cease to be the promoter in due course of time. That's the whole thing. The company will no longer be part of the Indiabulls group. That's all I can tell you.
Okay.
When will that happen? In how many tranches, what timeline, what percentage exactly? So on that I can't comment.
Okay, why Embassy at the Blackstone Group, which were the other companies that were involved?
There was a due process which was followed over the last couple of months. There were bids invited. There were other few players as well. And there's a due process. As part of that, this probably seemed to be the best fit. And Embassy, as you know, is one of the most credible real estate developers. They've recently done a REIT, one of the hugely successful REIT, and they are JV partners with Blackstone. And Blackstone already has been associated with us. They have a long history of working with us. They already own 50% in our, rental assets portfolio, including the two marquee iconic projects in Mumbai, which is one Indiabulls Center, Indiabulls Finance Center, also some assets in Chennai and Gurgaon. So they've already been working. So there was a fair amount of comfort level. They knew us inside out, and that's how this transaction with Embassy.
Just to clarify, Mr. Mittal, the money that will come in from this entire deal will go to the promoters. There will be nothing that will come into the Indiabulls group as such, right?
I don't even know what kind of question is this. Is an individual selling his stake?
Yeah. All I'm asking is there any plans to infuse funds back, whatever Mr. Gehlot gets?
Mr. Gehlot is the promoter of quite a few financial services business. He has been infusing his share of the capital in all the businesses, be it the now insurance businesses underway, be it the fintech business, be it housing finance business. From time to time, he does infuse money in the businesses, and he'll continue to do so.
Mr. Mittal, just one more clarification. This could be for the benefit of all the shareholders of the company. Since you've said that you've been with RBI earlier, tell us, will the existing promoter, that's Mr. Sameer Gehlot, be allowed to hold a minority share in the company going ahead in case the merger approval comes by from RBI?
As an investor, if he holds some stake, there's nothing, any individual can hold stake in any company. Why only real estate company? As long as he's not involved in the management of the company.
If that investor is also a promoter entity in a bank,
he will cease to be. There's a very laid down process.
Okay.
If you hold less than 10%, then you depromoterize yourself. You're no longer promoter of that entity, listed company. So that's very clear. And it won't even belong to that group. He won't be on the board. None of us will be on the board. That will be an altogether different group. So I don't know why there's no gray area on that.